So eventually humanity will reach utopia, and let's say maybe 100 years. Some experts 100 years. I mean, it all depends how much we fuck up the planet. But let's say we get through climate change, we go through some bumps, millions of people obviously will die, and so we go through that, then we get to utopia in say 100 years. Why not get there sooner? If you know you can get there, if we know we can get there, let's try and get there sooner. So the first step is to create an example. Right? I mean, different people have different ideas of what utopia is, but let's say the transition movement, for example, it's about resilience. It's about creating communities that work together. That helps with the social side of things. Like, one of the biggest problems in the world is that people aren't very happy because they're kind of alienated from society. When they're engaged and they're in control of what they're doing, then they're more satisfied. Studies show, and the transition movement provides for the social side, and provides for the economic side, which deals with the shocks of the economic system. If there's a housing bubble or there's a food crisis, with the transition town, people have this backup. They have a stable local economy. I mean, local produce is or local anything. Local businesses are all helping each other to strengthen the local economy. That's not to say there's not going to be any international trade. That's always going to happen. But where things can be kept local, then do it local. It's not all about economies of scale. Sure, you can get some things cheaper and faster with economies of scale. But, well, I mean, for one, a lot of people are more satisfied by putting extra work and time into the things they consume. But we can't do that with everything if we want everything. So yeah, there's going to be some economies of scale, international trade, specialization as well. We could go deeper into that later. So then there's the environmental side, the transition movement, low carbon emissions. What else? Organic farming, whatever. I mean, I'm not against GMO, but I mean, if people are happy with organic, you go organic. So anyway, the idea is you create these communities. There's a growing trend in our generation, the millennial generation is what we're called, the people who were born around the 1980s until recently. Young, fairly young people who are in control of their own lives, independent. The trend is that when they move to a new city or town or wherever, they move there because of the place. This trend is accelerating, apparently. And in the past, people moved to cities because of the job opportunity. The job opportunity was priority number one. Now it's priority number two. It's about place. So let's take advantage of this, human geography, and find these kind of places where people want to go, and nurture these kind of places so that they thrive. So, like, a number of criteria from studies in Michigan have shown that people want greater access to local organic food, for example, farmers markets. They want better transport system. They want pedestrianised streets. They want they want their home to be close to work. You know, a nice atmosphere, and they want access to local kind of culture and networking. You know, people who share knowledge. You know, so these young, talented people. Not necessarily. I mean, there's older people doing this stuff too. But it's common in our millennial generation. They, what was I saying? These people, you know, they choosing these places that I think are great. So these are going to be the places where, you know, the more these kind of places grow, the more people are going to want to go. These places, they're going to say, hey, look at that place. They're, you know, 50% self-sufficient, and they're environmental, and everybody's fucking happy, everybody's successful, you know, everything about it's great. Let's move there, or let's do something with our town, and let's make it happen over here. So this stuff is going to happen, but considering, I mean, I could go on about the, you know, combined problems that are going to happen this century due to exploitation of the planet. So, if we want to prevent all these global catastrophes, we want to get there sooner. We want to create these sort of communities sooner, whether they're in the rural areas or urban areas. And so, to a certain extent, we want to be artificial. We have to be artificial about it. We can't just expect them to develop naturally all over the world and for the world to be saved. Like, yes, natural is possible, is what we want, but artificial in the sense that we go in there and we help make it happen. So you could call that natural, you know. Some people would argue that it's not natural to do that, to go into a community and support. But the idea is that people own from the bottom up. They own what they're doing. They're creating, like for example, it could be a housing cooperative where people share resources in a housing estate. Maybe they all use the same lawnmower. They have a food cooperative so that they can save money on food. And delivery, if delivery is all in one bulk, then there's going to be less carbon emissions. And you know, there could be a movement to get people to cycle more than to drive. I mean, these aren't all the greatest examples. There's lots of great examples out there. It can happen that a town can be very low in carbon intensiveness. It can, or any other greenhouse emission. It can happen that people have great access to education. It's all because they get together and they make it happen. Now, a lot of these sort of initiatives have failed over time. So what we want is to make these initiatives not fail, and that requires nurturing. So that's where institutions, universities, NGOs, individual volunteers, individual donors, they come in to a community where, or not even necessarily community. I mean, we want to start project by project. So overall, we want to transform entire communities. We're not going to go out and build new communities out of nothing, because what we want is to get to the core of what communities are like around the world and help them change. So what was I going to say? So it could be, simple things like getting people to use less electricity in their homes. That sounds a bit crap, but other things like well, I named a couple of things already. Energy production, building materials from locally sourced mines. I don't know. But, reduce, reuse, recycle. So if you're throwing stuff out, it goes straight to a scrapyard, which sorts stuff. People have access to that stuff instead of them having to go to some international provider. They can go to this local place and they have some materials. They don't have to be so cheap. Some materials are going to be perfectly fine. It sounds a bit hippie-ish, but anyway, the point is we want to get closer to this sort of efficient way of doing things. And to do that, we find people who are most receptive to these sort of changes, to create strong local economies, strong sustainable social atmosphere, and strong environmental or ecological citizenship. I mean, these people exist everywhere, and there are so many movements and groups of people around the world who are full of people. They could be hippie-ish people, or they could be very conservative. It doesn't matter. They come from all walks of life, and a lot of them, they want to do something with their lives. And I think it's this kind of this frustration that a lot of us have subconsciously, that we're not in control of what, everything around us. I mean, you go outside and everything is managed by this big society that, it's kind of, nobody really has that much say in what they're doing. And nobody's really interacting with each other. I mean, there's so many people that they just want to get involved in something, and they exist. And so we find these people and, we help them make it happen, because it's very difficult. Like, people get very excited at the beginning, groups of people get together, and 5 years down the line they failed. They'll go back to their home cities, go and move off somewhere else, find a new job, whatever, and they give up. So we keep working on all these things to make sure that that doesn't happen. So that could be, we've got student organizations here in Sweden, which can bring in students who are interested in offering research. You could be researching the financial effectiveness of the local farmers market, or second-hand market, or whatever, and the actual system, the supply chain, and try and improve it. So there we have students, universities, professors coming in, assessing the life cycle, the carbon cycle of different systems. So we've got all these different pilots within the overall community. So there's one big community, and we're looking at every aspect of that community in terms of production and consumption, and democratic involvement, and how resource efficient they are. So there's so many miniature systems within the overall community system, at the household level, at the transport level, at every level, where you get your toothbrush from, whatever. So what we do is we identify each of these pilots, and it just feels kind of funny listening to me. Anyway, we identify all these miniature pilots within the overall pilot, which is transition town, let's say. Everyone is involved in this interface. They could be sharing a website where they can, when they're not in an office together or they're not at a meeting together talking about this stuff, they can monitor the progress. They got people working on the website to make sure that things are updated in a very clear, easy to understand, visual sort of way. So what I want is from all over the world. I want people to help this project happen. Now, I'm just a guy sitting with a blanket on me, trying to look like a Roman in bed, and I woke up and I just started thinking about this. Let's make a video. So, I'm just one of many people who want to make this happen. Now, let's keep in touch. Whoever's interested. The idea is that the more people involved in making this happen, the more likely it's going to succeed. Now, too many chefs spoil the broth, but it's not like everyone's just coming in throwing information at each other. We've got a core group of people. Myself, a few students are going out to the community here, and we're finding, people who want to make this happen, and they're making it happen. We're just, sharing knowledge with them and supporting them in whatever way we can. So the more we support them financially or in terms of scientific knowledge or business knowledge or whatever, then the better it's going to be. IT, technology, all kinds of supports. So eventually this is going to grow, from these sort of communities. Like we've got the local food cooperatives here, we've got energy cooperatives, we've got sustainable housing, we've got we've got companies that are trying to be progressive in getting their employees to live closer to the office, or trying to provide a means for people to to be able to work from home, or just in order to reduce resource consumption, and not in a boring way, but in an exciting sort of way. So these kind of things will grow, and then we can share this knowledge with other communities, with other universities, with other NGOs, with other countries, and if as many people as possible help each of these individual projects grow, then they're going to become successful, and they're going to spread even further. And what stands in the way of this success is, in fact, the problems that we're trying to solve, like climate change. So we want to reach this sort of, utopia. I mean, like, a lot of people don't like to use that word, but maybe it's because any example of utopia has always been disaster. A utopia is simply you live a decent life. You have what you need, but you also appreciate what you have, because you're out there and you're involved. And not many people. I mean, a lot of people probably don't want to be involved because they've never grown up with that sort of experience. So for some people it'll take time. So we start with people who who happen to be ready for it, or happen to be aware that that's what they want. And we start with those people, and then it grows from there. So if you help me with this, with me and everyone else who's involved, then it's going to happen. It's simple. You could be just offering one word of advice. It doesn't even have to be a full sentence. It could be just one word. You could be offering your entire lifetime. You could be offering lots of money. You could be spreading the word, telling other people about the project. And what that project's name is, I don't know yet. I don't have a website. I haven't set up an NGO or anything. So that'll come later. But it's very simple. I mean, you help these people make it happen. Where there's failure, we find what the problems are and we deal with them. If one project, we're at it for 10 years, it fails, people go their separate ways, whatever, we'll move on. Eventually we're going to find places that will succeed. It's not going to fail everywhere. It's going to work in places, and we're going to do what we can. Whatever it takes. Many organizations, institutions, universities, individuals, even governments, as long as everyone's aware that bottom up, the people at the bottom, people who are actually there, living their communities, in their communities, are in charge. We're just coming in and we're helping the best we can so that they don't fail. So once that's done, we spread it. Have I convinced you? Maybe. Maybe I need to do more work before I can convince you, but whatever. The early bird gets the worm, you could say. Well, that sounds a bit egotistical.